So we have like 2 more minutes until 5. We can wait for that. And I see a student joining us, so be patient. We will start in a couple of seconds. And we are also live streaming on YouTube, so you can take a look later once again, the presentation. Okay, I think we can start. I want to say thank you everyone for joining us. It's already 5 o'clock. If somebody shows up later, we will let them in our Zoom classroom. First of all, I want to thank the representatives of the universities for joining us. Today with us, we have representatives of Johns Hopkins, the Fletcher School, we have Columbia, we have Georgetown University. We will start shortly after my speech with the presentation, but I would kindly ask you, if you're not speaking, to mute your microphone. You also have a button, raise hand, if you want to ask a question, any of the representatives of schools, and I will let them now start with their presentation. Don't want to take their time. I know that kids, you're eager to hear everything about these schools.
Well, hi, all, welcome, and thanks you very much for joining us. So just quickly give you a little bit of a rundown on how we're going to run this today. I'm going to give just a quick overview of sort of why the four of us do these types of sessions together and why we recruit together, and just to give you an overview of what these types of degree programs are and what makes us similar. Then we're going to break out and each give a short, 3 to 4 slide presentation about each of our individual programs and what makes them unique. And after that, we do want to leave a little bit of time here at the end for Q&A, just to get your questions answered. So with that, I think we can get started. So I'm Dave Spalding. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions with Johns Hopkins University School of Advanced International Studies, or SAIS. I'm joined today by Grace Hahn with Columbia SIPA, Yuritsa Pena with the Fletcher School, and Jeanette De Florent with Georgetown MSFS, and you'll be hearing from all of them shortly. So with that, why are we here and why do we do this together? APSIA, we're all APSIA members, and if you're not familiar with that, APSIA is a professional organization, the Association of Professional Schools and International Affairs. I would certainly recommend to check out their website as well, apsia.org. This is it's a great resource for all of these types of degree programs. There's over 40 member schools at this point, so a great idea for just resources about degrees, financial aid, all of that. But the four of us have been doing this together for over 40 years at this point. So it's a long-standing relationship within the APSIA partnership. And the reason we do that is we recognize that you as an applicant are probably going to be applying to some subset or all of us together when you're thinking about these types of degrees. So it's only a benefit for you and a way for us to all maybe know about some of our schools, a little bit less about the others, to really get the information in front of you and let you make the choices from there if that's best fit for your educational goals. Some things that make us similar. So we all offer 2-year professional master's degree programs. These are professional degree programs. So you're being prepared to be practitioners in the field. It's not saying you're not prepared for further study. We all do have some variations of PhD programs. So you are prepared for that if that's the area you're looking to go. But the majority, this is a terminal degree for the most of our students. We all have diverse student bodies with significant minority and international representation, which we can go into a little bit later. On average, our applicants are in that sort of 26, 27 years old range with sort of that 2 to 4 years of work experience. These are not hard cutoffs. You're not required to have this. You need to apply when the time is right for you. We all do have, roughly 15 to 20% does come straight off undergrad. And we do have students that are, 15, 20 years into their career, and it's the right time for them to come back to school. But sort of just so you're aware, that's sort of where that sweet spot tends to be within our programs. A big part of being an APSIA member is that we all do offer dedicated career services, which means that our career services office are specific to our individual schools. You're not sharing resources with other divisions, other parts of the university. So these offices are really keyed in to the types of organizations, the jobs that students coming for an IR degree are really looking for. So that's a big benefit of being an APSIA member, going to an APSIA member affiliated school. We'll get into alumni networks a little bit later, but it's a very engaged alumni network. And that's also a big part of what you're going to be paying for by coming to a degree program like this. We all offer formal or ad hoc dual degree opportunities. So that's something if you're interested in pairing this with a law degree or an MBA, which is common at all of our programs. And peer-to-peer learning is a big function of what you're going to be doing in the classroom. Is you're really gaining professional skills here. And all of our faculty members are truly second to none. I mean, you're going to be working with people that aren't just academics. We also all have strong faculty members that are also practitioners and truly experts in the forefronts of their fields that you're here learning from and studying with. So what is a graduate degree in international affairs? It is truly an interdisciplinary approach that we take, and you're going to be blending theory and practice. There's going to be focus on language skills and cultural competencies, and a strong focus on professional development, as we already touched on. So some of the sort of areas you're going to be able to focus on and develop while you're here are listed. I'm not going to read down the entire list, but the nice thing about all of our degree programs is that they offer varying levels of customizability. So you're going to be able to really hone in on the specific areas that you see in front of you that really match your professional goals. And I think that's a true benefit to these degree programs. No two people are going through it exactly the same. We all have extremely deep course catalogs that you're going to be able to really utilize to benefit you and your goals. And when I say interdisciplinary earlier, over on the right-hand side here is what we're talking about. It is a true blend of political science and history and law and econ and business, and really being able to take pieces of all those and really build your academic profile in a way that's going to help you long-term get where you'd like to be. A little bit deeper into some of the curricular highlights. This is a high-level overview of sort of the areas you're going to be focusing on, and I think the important part to really take away from this is you're going to see a blend of policy and regional studies and economic skills and history, and all of these things are what makes our degree programs what they are. The regional specialties that you're able to focus on here is something that's really truly unique to the IR world, and I think a true benefit of these degree programs. I mentioned dual and joint degrees earlier, but these are the most common areas that we see students pursue a dual degree with. The big benefit to a dual degree, though, the only thing I will highlight with that is that you're taking what typically would have been 4 or 5 years of school and getting a semester of advanced standing in each program. So the time commitment, the financial commitment is all lessened by just a little bit, and you're able to really blend those 2 degree programs together in a way that's truly very unique. And we all do have exchange opportunities, whether that's doing a semester or a year abroad or in other parts of the world, which is a nice benefit of these degree programs as well. So look into each of those. Everyone's a little different in how that's set up, so I'd recommend to look at each individual school for sort of what those opportunities would be. Internships are a big part of the experience within these degree programs. And this is just a small sampling of the types of organizations and companies that people are interning with and working with full time once they graduate. But I think the important piece to really put this out here is that you are not being pigeonholed or pushed to work in one area or another. it is very common for students to go in both the private and public sector. We have students that are looking to go work for NGOs or go work for the big multilaterals like World Bank or United Nations. We have students going in, taking the sort of more traditional consulting route, or going and working for any of the .govs. We have the resources to help you get where you want to be. So it's really important that you're able to articulate that goals, and not just at the admissions process, but also when you're a student here, to really be able to work with our career services office and help them utilize all of their resources to get you in front of the people that you're looking to be to help you achieve those goals. Employment by sector, I think this sort of reinforces what I was just saying, and you could see that it is very evenly split where students are going afterwards, whether that's private, public, or nonprofit. You can see some of the, those listed out, some of the types of organizations over there, but it's really about you and your goals, and allowing us to help you get where you'd like to be. And I think this also very much ties into not just post-graduation. I think this also speaks very well to the application process as well. We're not looking for just one type of student. You don't have to be an IR major or an econ major to be a good fit. We value all different, sort of academic backgrounds. I mean, we like engineers, the traditional liberal arts degree, music majors. It's much more about what have you done to get to this point to decide that this is the right degree for you. And if you can really articulate those goals to us, it's not so much about what you have done, but it's about taking those skills and those experiences and allowing us to help you take that next step and get where you want to be down the road. Quickly, just career resources. What does that really mean? You are expected to be working with our career services office from the moment you set foot on campus. It's not that sort of that I forgot that office was here until the last semester of the program. There's going to be skills courses and other things that you're going to be working with. As I mentioned, these are dedicated career services office specifically for our individual schools within the broader university. And they are prepared to help you take those next steps, regardless of which of those areas we were just looking at that you're looking to take that next step in. So that's career mentoring, that's professional staff, working with our professional staff and organizations, and resume writing, and bag lunches. And obviously all this stuff has been taken virtual now, but a lot of this is also on campus when we're able to go back and be full-time in that vein as well. So they're going to be putting you in front of the people you'd like to be long-term, I think, is the long and short of it. So with that, I will stop talking for a little bit and I will pass it over to our first presenter send it over to Grace with Columbia SIPA.
Great. Thank you, Dave. So hello, everyone. My name is Grace Han. I'm the Executive Director of Admissions and Financial Aid here at SIPA, or Columbia University. SIPA was founded on the heels of the United Nations Charter by its founders' same ideals in 1946. So you've heard from my colleague, Dave, about all the things that make our schools very similar and things that we have in common. So today I want to leave you with 3 distinct attributes that set SIPA apart from the other schools and why we believe that you should study at SIPA. So the first one being choice. We offer 7 programs ranging from our traditional Masters of Public Administration and Master of International Affairs to a PhD in Sustainable Development. To more specialized MPA degree programs focused in environmental science, economic policy, and development practice. At SIPA, all our students complete a set of core requirements by the time that they graduate. They will have the foundational skill sets needed for a successful career in global public policy. Although we have requirements, these are topic requirements and not course requirements. So we don't tell the students exactly which course you have to take, but we give you some guidance. Our students have the flexibility to choose courses of interest that most will meet these requirements. We have an interdisciplinary approach through cross-registration. So while SIPA offers over 450 courses each year, SIPA students typically enroll in over 1,000 courses at 9 Columbia graduate and professional schools to fulfill requirements. Wow. So if you are interested in management, you can take that course with business school. And if you are interested in human trafficking law, you could do that with the law school without having to pursue a dual degree, which is also an option. Like other schools, we offer degree programs at Columbia University. A little difference is our international dual degree offerings through our GPPN network, where you spend 1 year at SIPA and 1 year at one of our 6 partner schools, including LSE, Sciences Po, FGV, University of Tokyo, the Lee Kuan Yew University, the National University of Singapore, as well as the Hertie School of Governance in Berlin. These are great options if you plan to work outside the United States or you're interested in obtaining a global network and resources of 2 different institutions. Now, besides the core, students are completing in the 21-month program, choose a concentration on a critical area of public policy, development, energy and environment, finance and economic policy, human rights, security, and urban and social policy. Students also will complement these areas of concentration through specialization in functional areas such as gender policy or conflict resolution, media or data analytics. Or they can pick a regional part of the world to study in. In addition, our students complete their studies with a capstone project. It's a client-based workshop, which allows our students to gain experience as well as to work in an environment where they will have the opportunity to develop their skill sets learned at SIPA. The second option or distinction is the connections that you will make. Our students will have come from very diverse backgrounds, both personal and professional. Over 50% of our class is from outside the United States, representing different countries. 44 different languages may be heard in the hallways. And at SIPA, you will learn from your peers as much as you will learn from your professors. Our diverse student body allows you to understand and see through the viewpoint of others. Unlike your own, you will be able to develop ideas and thoughts through various recommendations and be able to really create recommendations and positive policies through the impact of your audience and understanding where they're coming from. Amongst your peers in the classroom, you will also have access to 20,000 active leaders in private, public, and nonprofit sectors around the world in over 165 countries, not to mention the additional 300,000 Columbia University alumni network that you'll have access to. Now, while at SIPA, you will also be studying in New York City, which comes to my third distinction, the city. New York City is one of the most global cities in the world. Millions of people from variety of cultures and beliefs call this place home. New York City is a living laboratory where our students can learn from policymakers in real time and at the United Nations, Fortune 500 companies, major broadcasting networks, local NGOs, as well as government offices. New York City draws millions of visitors, including leaders of countries, ambassadors, various chiefs of companies, big and small, and many are able to be here with our students to discuss key issues affecting the global community with our students. So at SIPA, you will be, besides really learning from a top-notch institution and having the resources of a global university, you will also have the choices, the connections, and the city access to become a prepared global leader in our ever-changing and challenging landscape. So with that, I'm going to turn it over back to Dave.
Thank you very much, Grace. So back to me for a short amount of time. Just want to give you sort of a quick highlight about some of the things that makes Johns Hopkins SAIS a unique place to study. So I think there's really 4 pillars that we like people to sort of take away when we're thinking about a degree with SAIS. And we'll go into a little more detail about each of these and how that relates to them, but you're going to become an expert. You're really going to have the opportunity to focus in on the specific areas that are of interest to you and really hone in on those to make the degree yours. And it's that level of flexibility with the new curriculum that I'll go into in just a moment that is something I feel is a really unique change that we've made over the past year. You're going to be learning from the best, and that's not just our amazing full-time faculty members. It's going to be because of our location, well, with 3 campuses, but also here in Washington, D.C., the amount of not just our full-time faculty, but the adjuncts and everyone that's able to be that is on campus and you're going to be working with just speaks to the level that you're going to be able to diversify your network and really be in front of the people and working with and studying with the people that are at the forefronts of these sort of areas that you're looking to go into. And that's how you're going to be building your network with us. In the end, you're here to advance your career. Like I mentioned earlier, these are for the most part terminal degree programs. And we're going to help you do that through our career services office and through those other network connections that I just mentioned. Some of the other experiences outside of just that sort of, traditional classroom experience, obviously, are going to be the study treks and the practicums and career treks that are going to be organized by academic programs, the global career staff, and everyone else, that it's going to be a big part of what this degree program is outside of just strictly that sort of classroom experience that obviously you're getting from any graduate program. Just quickly to highlight for those of you that might not be as familiar with SAIS, we actually do have 3 campuses. So our main campus is here in Washington, D.C. We have our SAIS Europe campus in Bologna, Italy, and the Hopkins Nanjing Center in Nanjing, China. I think that's really, it is something that is unique to our program. And in the end, even if you're just doing both years here at our Washington, D.C. campus, it speaks to the diversity in our program. Each of these do have their own admissions offices, and it speaks to the just sort of global presence that we have and the global student body that's going to be a part of that. In relation to our flagship sort of MAIR program that we're here all discussing together, what's unique about that is roughly half of the incoming class will do their first year at our SAIS Europe campus, and then they come back to Washington, D.C. for their second year. You're also able to do both years in Washington, D.C., so you're not pushed to do this one way or the other, but for those that want to do a year of their graduate study abroad, doing that in Bologna, Italy is a really unique opportunity. It's a much smaller campus, so it's a real tight-knit community that I think then comes back and joins Washington, D.C. And it's a great way to add a European perspective to your degree program. You can see a number of the other degree programs that we have listed up here. We have several online programs that are now available. We also have 1-year programs, mid-career, in addition to our 2 graduate, our PhD and postdoctorate options that we have. So wherever you are sort of career-wise, I think we do have a degree that's going to be a good fit for you. And there are opportunities to be abroad doing that, not just with our MAIR program. So as I mentioned earlier, starting with the incoming fall 21 class, we do have a new interdisciplinary curriculum. And in the end, you're still able to study all of the same things you were always able to here at SAIS, but we've redesigned it in a way that I think really speaks to flexibility, in a way that really speaks to professional skills and having employers recognize what a SAIS graduate has done during their time in the 2 years in the program. So there's going to be a core curriculum that's going to be 6 courses, and you can see all of those listed above you. And those are really designed in a way that speaking to those professional skills that we want employers to recognize. We still do have our focus on economics, but it's not quite as in-depth as it used to be, but you're still going to be able to go as far with economics as you'd like to, and it's still a big part of the program here at SAIS. From there, you'll choose a functional and a regional area of study. Each of those are going to be, you'll choose one of each, and that's just taken basically what used to be 19 concentrations and distilled them in a way that I think is a little easier to understand and really speaks to the skills that you're going to be building within each of those. We still do have our language proficiency as a requirement. So for us, it's it's a requirement for graduation. We're going to be offering 9 languages on campus going forward. With us, you will have to complete a capstone, and what that is really up to you. There's going to be different ways to fulfill that degree requirement, whether that's through a practicum or study trip, internship opportunities, or practical research papers. So in the end, what I obviously that's a lot of information, but just really wanted to be able to highlight for you the ways that you're going to be able to customize this degree. And I think it's pretty clear that there are no two students that are going to be going through this in any way, shape, or form the same way, because you're going to be able to focus on those areas that are truly of importance to you. So with that, I will stop talking about SAIS for a moment, but here to answer questions for you at the end, and I will pass it over to Yuritsa with the Fletcher School.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yuritsa Pena. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions and Financial Aid at the Fletcher School, which is at Tufts University, and we're located in Medford, Massachusetts. You can switch to the next slide. So for a long time, Fletcher's been around. We have a very long history. We were founded in 1933, which makes us the oldest graduate school for international affairs in the country. So we are what we consider to be a mid-sized school with about 500 to 550 students at Fletcher across all degree programs in 1 year. So we are about the same size as SAIS. We are a little smaller than SEPA, but we're larger than Georgetown. And in comparison to a lot of the other similar programs you may be considering within the IR field, we just overall kind of consider ourselves to be a mid-sized program. We do have a variety of degree programs, which I will show you on the next slide. But currently there are 11 degree programs at the school. And like most programs here, we are a professional school. And what that means is that the majority of our students are coming to us with some professional experience. So we typically say 2 to 4 years as a common range for applicants to come with. However, this is by no means a strict requirement for admission, as we do have some candidates who are admitted right out of undergrad. But a typical student has been working, maybe at their first job or their first few jobs and in a variety of settings before coming to Fletcher. So our class sizes are relatively small. We have about 25 students in an average class. And that number comes from students choosing their classes from a significantly large number of available courses. There are a little over 170 or more unique classes offered every year at Fletcher. So students do have the ability to cross-register in addition to those courses offered at Fletcher at other grad schools in the area, which I'll get to in another slide later. But that option really does expand your curricular options to close to 1,000 or more choices, which is incredible. So it's really difficult to come to Fletcher and have an interest in international affairs that you aren't going to be able to pursue somehow in your 1 to 2 years here. And with any APSIA school, another thing you can expect as a Fletcher student is that you're going to be working very closely with the Office of Career Services, as Dave mentioned earlier, during your time at Fletcher. So these programs are heavily predicated upon career outcomes and career planning while you're a student. And you can expect to be working with the Office of Career Services pretty much from the moment you start at Fletcher, and from there throughout your entire time as a student. And the results speak for themselves. We very consistently, even through the pandemic and other, economic downturns and situations similar, we see over 90% of our graduates employed within the fields that they are seeking within 6 months of graduation. So it's a very high success rate. So if you could turn back to the other slide, sorry, Dave. As I mentioned earlier, there are 11 degrees offered. So there's we've had a little bit of a change in our curriculum offerings from this last slide, so I apologize for not having updated this, but we have 11 degrees offered at Fletcher. And you can see the list on the left hand of this slide, and I'm not going to get into too much detail about each of these, but you can see that the majority of our programs are residential programs, and you can find really a degree program that fits your interests in the current stage of your life and any way that you see fit. So the MAL degree is very much our flagship degree program at the school, and that is the 2-year interdisciplinary international affairs degree. And all the other schools here today have some version of that, as you've heard. But we also have an international business degree. We have a number of degrees with more of a focused issue like transatlantic affairs or cybersecurity. We have a humanitarian assistance degree. We have some mid-career programs as well, and there's a PhD and one not listed here that is a new degree, and our first part-time degree option program is the MGA, which is the Masters of Global Affairs. And of course, you can go on our website and learn more about all of these degree programs in depth. And you will also see on this slide that we have some other online mediated degrees as well. So really, no matter what you're looking for in terms of focus or in terms of length, whatever it is that you need in your graduate program and in your experience, there is something for everyone here at Fletcher. And really quickly, I just want to share a little bit about the Map Your Future program that is listed at the bottom left of this slide. This is included with the degrees slide, not because it's a degree program itself, but it's actually an application program, an application pathway, actually, I'll say, to the Mulder MIB 2-year degree programs. And this is an application opportunity for our younger applicants, as we have, like I said, many people who are college seniors or about to be recent undergraduates, graduates of undergrad, and are interested in these kinds of programs and are thinking about, you know, wanting to go out and get some professional experience before they go to grad school. So Map Your Future allows you to apply to the program during your senior year of undergrad for a deferred spot in the class 2 years in the future. So if you're a current college senior applying to Map Your Future now, you would be applying to start your career at Fletcher in the fall of 2023. And the main benefits to this program are that you can get an admission spot in advance, which is nice to just kind of have ready to go for you. And we will hold it for you for the 2 years while you're working and pursuing that professional experience. And we will also guarantee you a minimum scholarship of $10,000 if you are admitted. So it's a great opportunity if you are thinking about grad school in your future. A little bit more about our curriculum. So moving to the right-hand side of the slide, as with these other oh, you can still stay on the same slide. Sorry, Dave. We have a very deep and broad curriculum, and we offer our students a lot of flexibility, which is definitely something Fletcher is known for. All of our students are going to have to meet some curricular requirements. So while we do have really the fewest mandatory requirements of probably any APSIA school you'll look into during your grad school search, students will need to complete breadth requirements, which really simply means you'll need to have a minimum degree of exposure to all 3 major areas of our curriculum, which are diplomacy, history and politics, economics and international business, and international law and organizations. And in addition to that, we have depth requirements, which means you will need to focus in certain areas of the curriculum. And to do that, you will pick a field of study. Depending on the program, you'll be able to pick 1 or 2. And there are currently 11 fields of study, which are functional groups that students can choose from to complete and combine any 2 fields of study that they want based on your own interests in the IR field. So you will have, in addition to that, the option to self-design a field too, if none of the 11 quite capture what it is that you want to do. In addition to the fields of study, there are a variety of certificate programs available as well for students who are looking to add a particular emphasis in a certain functional area. And they, in addition to doing a certificate, have the extra credential listed on their transcript when they graduate. We have a wide variety of exchange programs and dual degree options with both domestic and international partners. And these can be done on an ad hoc basis as well. So students can combine a Fletcher degree with almost any other type of grad degree program you can imagine, as long as you're making sure that the 2 registrars are able to communicate and make sure that the coursework and credits can be accepted by both institutions. But this is done pretty frequently. And all Fletcher students across all degrees will complete a capstone project as well. This is an independent research project on a topic of your choice, and you will complete it under the guidance of a faculty advisor. And capstone projects can take many different forms and focus on many different issue areas, but essentially allows you the opportunity to really go in depth with an issue or an interest that you wouldn't particularly get to be able to do with other coursework. And ultimately, you will produce some really high-level research that sometimes students have leveraged into employment opportunities at the end. A lot of Fletcher students have foreign language capabilities as well, and spend their time pursuing additional foreign language exposure, whether it's through classroom-based study. Although we don't have foreign language built into our curriculum, students can take language courses at Tufts University if that's something that they're interested in. Sometimes students go off on their own and do some informal study of foreign language, or maybe some overseas time during breaks to do some language study. In addition to studying, you do have the option to test and get formal certification for foreign language proficiency. That's also a notation that can be added to your transcript. Fletcher students will also work closely with the Office of Career Services and are actually forced to do so in the first 10 weeks of your program through something that we call the Professional Development Program, which is basically a career services class or workshop that will provide a good orientation for you of who the staff are in the Career Services Office, and familiarize yourself with all the wide programming that you can expect coming out of the office through your time as a Fletcher student. And finally, as I mentioned before, students do have the opportunity to cross-register at all of the grad schools at Tufts and Harvard University, which is not too far away. And in addition to taking courses at Fletcher, it just provides so many extracurricular options to you in the short time that you're there. And you can hit the next slide. Right. And a little bit more about what makes Fletcher stand out. As I said before, our school is very well known for its highly flexible curriculum, and we really give students an opportunity to self-design their degree as they see fit for their scholarly or their professional interests. But we're also really well known for having a very close-knit community. This is definitely a place that people come to because they really want to be at the school themselves. You know, we are located in the Boston area, and our location in Boston can definitely be underrated for international affairs. So it's definitely not, the prime selling point for us when we talk about Fletcher. Therefore, people really are coming to Fletcher because they really want to be a part of this community, not necessarily for the city that we are located in. And the great thing about studying in an interdisciplinary international affairs program is that you are a member of a student body who, not everyone is interested in doing the same thing or going off into the same profession that everybody else is. And what that does is remove the natural incentive for students to want to compete with each other. And the result of that is that you'll find that people at Fletcher really are there to support each other and help each other and learn together, and bring each other up to achieve their goals in the IR field, whatever they may be. And not only is that the experience you can expect at Fletcher, but that really further extends into the alumni network that we have. And our networks are made up of people who are, going to return your phone calls and will meet you for coffees and discuss your goals and answer your questions about the work that they do as you are looking for opportunities. So that alumni network is very, very strong. And it is by far the single most important part of your investment in graduate school. So you will find a close-knit community of students and alumni that will follow you far beyond your time as a Fletcher student. So I'll end there and I will pass it on to Jeanette.
Thank you, Rita. My name is Jeanette DeFlorima, and I'm the Director of Admissions for the Master of Science in Foreign Service program, which is one of 8 master's programs within the Walsh School of Foreign Service. So here is a list of the 8 different programs we do have. So I'll talk mostly about the MSFS program in my next slides, but to give you an overview of the other programs, we do have 2 thematic programs, Security Studies and Global Human Development. And then we have 5 regional studies programs. So one unique thing about our programs versus other schools is that each of our master's programs actually have their own admissions office. So if you were interested in more than one of these programs, you'd have to apply to them separately. We each have our own admissions officers and application. You can apply to more than one program at a time. I'll talk a little bit more about our curriculum, but you are able to take classes within the other programs. But if you're looking for a specific degree, we do have separate application processes for these. Okay. So Georgetown University is the first Jesuit institution in America. And so from that, we've derived some core values, and these are listed on top: leadership, ethics, creativity, service, and inclusion. These 5 core values are things that we look for in our applicants that are applying. These are values that we incorporate into our curriculum. And these are things that we hope that our students come out with a better sense of at the end of our program. So you'll see these themes woven throughout your time, throughout my presentation, as well as if you become a student throughout your time at Georgetown University. So the MSF is, so the School of Foreign Service is actually the longest running international affairs school in the United States. We were founded in 1919, which is shortly after World War I. We realized the world was becoming more global and interconnected, and we needed to have people who were able to communicate with each other, understand each other, work together, all to help, the common man. And so that's why the School of Foreign Service was founded. And the idea of service really comes from our Jesuit values. So the idea was, working together on a global level, and that's really where the term foreign service came from. About 6 years later, the U.S. government liked that term and started using that at the State Department for the U.S. Foreign Service, but we're not actually connected. We actually predate them. So the MSFS program, so we provide academic rigor and professional development. So a lot of our professors are practitioners who are working in the field, and they are able to bring their work into the classroom. And so a lot of times when you're doing case studies or using examples, you aren't just using theory, you're actually using data that is happening in real time. They're able to really bring their work and share their experiences firsthand in the classroom. We're located in Washington, D.C., similar to Johns Hopkins SAIS, but they are more downtown. We are in our own kind of neighborhood of Georgetown, but we are practically located close to all the centers of power, all that he named, the think tanks, the embassies, the U.S. government. Those are all right there. And so because we're there all year round, our students are able to find great internships and network throughout the year, not just during the summer. And also because of our great location, we're able to attract really stellar practitioner professors. As I mentioned, we have former ambassadors who are on our staff, on our faculty. And so you're really able to gain a great bit of knowledge from practical experience and not just reading books all the time. A lot of times the books that you're reading are actually published by a professor that you're sitting in the classroom with, which is really kind of amazing to think about. Okay, the next one. So here's a breakdown of our curriculum for the MSFS program. It's like all the other programs we talked about today, a full-time 2-year program. The beginning of our program is broken down into our core courses, and you'll see our core values incorporated there with ethical decision-making, principled leadership. Those are half semester modules that you take during your second semester. In your first semester, all students take the same courses. You do have the option to waive out of some of these courses if you've taken them previously, but this really is to give students kind of the same the same kind of baseline knowledge going into their more specific classes. And so if you're coming from a different discipline, let's say you're coming from like theater or dance, you don't have that IR background, but you're interested in this, you're able to come in and take these core courses and get that grounding so you can then move forward within the program. During the first semester, you would select your concentration. We do offer 4 different concentrations. And so this is kind of like your major within the program. So we have our global politics and security, our global business, finance and society, international development, and our newest one, which is science, technology, and international affairs. You also do have the option to self-design, although the majority of our students find that when they come in thinking they want to self-design, they're able to fit their interests within one of our established concentrations. For a long time, students were self-designing kind of a technology science concentration. And from that, we took their cue and we developed a new concentration to fulfill that need. And so now we do have the 4 concentrations. Each of these concentrations have a full-time faculty member who serves as your advisor, your concentration chair. And they are with you through every step of your process throughout the program. And so once you declare your concentration, you meet with them to develop the rest of your kind of course plan while you're in the program. And so they are the person who will help you determine which classes you should be taking based on your interests, how you should pair them, as well as helping you to just general kind of professional development advice, academic advice, serve as your kind of your mentor, your tutor, to point you in the right direction in terms of their connections. And your network is open. Their network is open up to you. So they will help you to find internships and sometimes secure positions as well. And so once you select your concentration, you have this person who's available to you. You also have the option to pursue a certificate. I can't remember how many we offer now, but we do offer certificates in both themes as well as in regional studies. So of the regional programs that I showed on the first slide, 4 of those do offer certificate programs in addition to African studies. And then we have a number of thematic programs as well. So we have things like international business and diplomacy, diplomatic studies, refugees and humanitarian aid. And so these are all things that you can then pair with your with your degree. And these are not credits that are taken in addition to your core courses. These are woven within. And so if you're taking a class that's on security on the Korean Peninsula, that can count towards your GPS concentration as well as towards an Asian Studies certificate. And so you can have one class that counts multiple times, which is how you're able to incorporate all of those classes within your 2 years while you're there. You also have the option to take classes elsewhere at Georgetown University. So if you have a strong interest in taking a law school class, you can do that. You can take class at the business school or the School of Public Policy. And so all of the graduate programs within Georgetown University are open to you. So you're able to tailor your interests based on what you personally like to discover. We do have 3 major graduation requirements. One is foreign language proficiency. And so we do require students, depending on the language, to have intermediate to advanced proficiency in a modern foreign language. So that's basically everything except for Latin. If you come in, you do take an assessment. If we find that you need additional language study, you can take classes at Georgetown, and we do cover the cost of those classes for you. If you come in and you have high enough proficiency, you can then take the exam during your first semester, and you're done with that requirement. So you do want to get that out of the way as soon as possible. And then let's say you're like, well, I'm already proficient in this language. I want to learn a 3rd or 4th language. You can use a language scholarship to do that. So you can take 1 foreign language class per semester and it'll be covered by Georgetown. You're also required to do an internship prior to graduation. This is a pretty loose requirement. Majority of our students will do an internship during the summer between their 1st and 2nd years. I would say about 90% of our students will do that. Of those, 50% will do it domestically, 50% will do it internationally. We also have students who do internships during the academic year. I mentioned because we're in DC, there's a lot of opportunity. During the summer, DC gets really flooded with interns, and so it's really competitive. But during the academic year, there are far fewer people who are there. And so it's much easier for our students to secure internships during the academic year as well. And so if you do something during the academic year, you're not required to do it during the summer. You can use the summer for something else, but a lot of our students choose to do an internship. Then if you do work during the academic year, we recommend not doing more than 20 hours, just so that you can really focus on your studies as well as some of the co-curricular opportunities that we have available. And then the final graduation requirement is an oral exam. This would be like your capstone. So this is a culmination of everything that you've learned throughout your time in the program. It is taken during, usually right after spring break in your 2nd year, so a few weeks before graduation. You would develop a memo with your concentration chair on any topic that interests you. And then our Director of Academic Affairs would work to compile a panel of professionals who are knowledgeable on your topic. And so depending on what your topic is, it could be 3 former ambassadors you're sitting across from. It could be 3 analysts from the World Bank. It really just depends on what your topic is. And so you'd go into a room with them, they'd read your memo, and then you would present it. Then they ask you questions about your memo. And then they open it up to general international affairs. And so the goal really is to see what your knowledge base is, both in your specific interest, as well as how you understand that to relate to what else is going on in the world. And so you may be asked how your particular topic, correlates with what's going on in Korea versus what's going on in Venezuela versus what's going on in Ethiopia right now, and how all those things are really interconnected. And so that really is the goal of the oral exam. And it's also a useful tool because if you are sitting across from professionals who are knowledgeable on your specific interests, it's sort of like a mini interview. They get to see how knowledgeable you are, and it may result in a job in the future, or at least an interview. And so it's a chance for you to really get to network on an intimate level with people that you ultimately want to work with. All right, so the next slide. I'll speed this up. So a lot of this is similar to the other programs. Our student profile, our students have about 4 years of experience, 26 to 27. Our student population is about 25 to 30% international. We have a lot of the same kind of resources. We have our Graduate Career Center. We have a program called Practitioners in Residence. And so this is a program where practitioners who can't dedicate enough time to teach a full semester will come into the program, and they will volunteer their knowledge to our students 2 or 3 times during this semester. And so these are practitioners who you can come and have a coffee chat with. Usually we max out around 8 to 12 students. You can ask them anything from if they would be willing to look over your resume because you want to go into the industry, to ask them how they were able to balance, a growing family while trying to travel in this international work. So it really is a chance for you to instantly get to know practitioners who were in various fields. And then we have our expansive alumni network. I mentioned that we are the oldest school of international affairs. We just celebrated our centennial last year, and so we have over 100 years of alumni to reach out to. We offer a number of events as well. We have guest speakers who come because of our location in DC. Usually when dignitaries come into town, a lot of them stop at Georgetown. And so if they have a book that's being published, they'll come and they'll do a reading, as well as a signing on campus. It is a location that people want to be at. And so you'll see the picture of John Kerry, and this is when his book came out and he came to campus and did a book signing. We offer skills clinics. So these are things that you'll be useful for you while you're in the classroom, but really useful for you once you graduate and you go into the workforce. So there'll be public speaking. There will be clinics on memo writing and briefs. And so maybe you're used to writing term papers, and that's not what you do when you're in the real world. No one wants to read a 30-page paper. And so how do you make that concise into a 1 or 2 page document? We'll have clinics on that. And then we also have a number of student-led activities. And so our students are very active. MSFS is the largest master's program within the School of Foreign Service, but as Rita mentioned, that we are a small program. And so we are 100 students that we bring in every fall. And so you have access to student-led groups that are on the program level. And then we also, within the School of Foreign Service, from all 8 master's programs, we have student-led groups. And then you also are eligible to be a part of student-led groups that are what we call GradGov on campus. And so that is graduate students from all programs across Georgetown University. And so there are many different levels to get involved in, both social as well as academic. And so we have a group called Georgetown Anti-Poverty Society, and so they work in development, and they bring organizations who are socially conscious to come onto campus. And then we also have things like our debate team and our soccer team. And so there are a lot of different ways to get involved in campus life. And so I will close out there to ensure that we have some time to answer your questions. So I will send it back to Dave, or we can, if you have a question, you can raise your hand and we'll get to those.
Yeah, absolutely. You can either raise your hand, we can do it that way, or we could also utilize the chat function. So if you do have questions, you can pose those there and we'll just answer anything, whether it's about programmatic options, sort of about these degree programs, about the application process, whatever's on your mind. Let's use the next 10 minutes to get those questions out.
Alexandra, you can go, you raise your hand, please. Just unmute yourself and ask the question.
Thank you. Hi, I would like to ask Georgetown University a question. I'm a junior at Grammar High School, and I was planning to apply for summer program for forensic sciences. Is it required for me as an American citizen, do I need to apply a TOEFL or anything like that?
You do need to, you said you're a high school student? Is that what you said?
Yes.
So you're applying to the undergraduate program. You would need to submit a TOEFL if your previous institution was not an English speaking institution.
can you repeat yourself? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, so if your current institution is not in English, does not provide the instruction in English, you do need to provide a TOEFL.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Virginia, you can go, you raise your hand, and then Sarah can go, if that is okay.
Thank you. I have one question for Professor from Johns Hopkins University. I saw that Master of Arts in Global Risk, MAGR, online. Is it only available online, or it can be it's available on campus also? In class?
Yeah, so there's two options for the MAGR. It is a one-year program offered solely at our SAIS Europe campus in Bologna, if you're interested in a in-person experience, or it can be done now as an online degree program as well, and that's a more cohort-based program. So two options for the major, but not here in DC, so it's either SAIS Europe or online.
Thank you.
Sarah, please, you can ask your question.
Thank you. Hello to everyone. I'm so thrilled to be here and to listen to all of you. I'm interested in international relations and I will be applying. My question is regarding the macroeconomics requirement. When I was researching the schools, I found that a lot of schools are asking for macroeconomics requirement, and I didn't have that course on my undergraduate level. I had some economics courses, but not macroeconomics. So my question is, how can I fulfill that requirement? Is there something you can suggest, whether that be some online course or something? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to jump in and give sort of the broad answer to it. So it's school to school in terms of if there are prerequisite courses such as Intro to Micro and Macro. I think overall, it's important to note that regardless if a school has a hard requirement for these types of degree programs, having at least a basic, introductory course in economics, whether it's just a principles course or micro or macro, is going to be good. You're going to be taking some level of economic and quantitative coursework within these types of degree programs. It's just part of what sort of the core curriculums are meant to. Now you can go, certain schools are meant to go a little deeper into that. Some have specific requirements. In terms of the four schools that are here today, SAIS and Georgetown are the two that have a prerequisite requirement of Intro to Micro and Macro. And you can be admitted conditionally if you've not completed those. Those would just need to be completed by enrollment. That being said, SIPA and Fletcher would also like to see that you have taken those courses because it just shows that you're a well-rounded applicant. So I think there's different ways to sort of go about that, but know that for those that have a requirement by enrollment, if you haven't completed them, you just have a condition to fulfill.
Thank you.
So do we have any other questions? You can write in chat, or you can, even if you're not quite sure in your English, you can write in our language and I will translate. We have a question from Christina, please.
You all mentioned the career programs and the career centers. I was wondering how much experience do you have with the applications to the European Union and the European agencies, especially the EAS and the diplomatic bodies?
So, I mean, I think that it's important to note that these are all very global degree programs. I can't really speak to, resources that each of us have within each of those specific AI agencies that you're referencing, but it is very common for students. We all have many European students in our programs, so our Career Services Office is familiar with helping students that are either going back to their home country or students that are interested in living and working abroad when they finish their graduate. All of our career services offices have that knowledge and that ability to help, whether it's some of the European agencies that you're looking for, or whether that is other parts of the globe that our graduates are looking to go live and work in. We have resources to help students get abroad and be living and working successfully abroad.
I would also mention that the connections that the career services have with the alumni who are already working in those countries or in those organizations are a huge resource as well. So when it comes to asking about experience or answering questions, that if for any reason they don't have the answer, they will definitely reach out to alum who are currently there serving.
Thank you very much. I would have also one more question concerning the certificates at Georgetown. How many certificates are the students allowed to take?
So we don't have a cap, but we typically don't have students who take more than 2. It's difficult to do that. So some of them, usually, I mentioned that there's 12 courses you have to take. Usually there's one required course, and then you can cross-register. It depends on the combination that you want to do. Some of them, as I mentioned, like the example I gave, they fit more seamlessly together. So one class, based on your interest, you could easily fulfill those 2 kind of certificates. And so it really depends on what your interest is. I would say maybe only 20% of our students pursue a certificate. It does give you, a notation on your transcript that you have this additional expertise, kind of like a minor, but it's not a requirement. And so if you have an interest, but you don't want to pursue the certificate, you maybe want to follow some of the courses because they all have like a menu. You can pick which courses you want to take to fulfill that. And so maybe you follow it closely, but you don't want to do all of those courses, and that's totally up to you. And then we have probably a handful of students who do maybe 2 certificates. I don't recall, to my knowledge, students who have done more than that, because the goal really isn't just to rack up these kind of documentation, and the goal really is to gain that level of knowledge and expertise. And so you don't just want to be, seeking out certificates for the sake of certificates, but really because you enjoy this kind of subject matter and you're looking to gain that knowledge. And so some students choose not to pursue a certificate because they don't need that, because it shows basically in their own personal knowledge.
All right, thank you very much.
Do we have any other questions? So we do have a question in chat. I would like to know possibilities of PhD degrees. I graduated in law faculty, and now I'm on the end in my second MA degree. So who's going to take over to answer this question?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just important to note that it's very school to school in terms of PhDs and what they are. Many of us do offer PhD programs. A lot of those are very specific, so you need to have a very specific idea of what you're looking to do for a faculty member to want to bring you in. So yeah, this is a little bit of a general answer, but yes, we do have PhD programs, many of the APSIA schools and the schools here, but really need to look school to school to see which one's a good fit for your specific research topics.
And I will also mention, you mentioned that you already have 2 MAs. If you're looking to do another degree, the thing you want to kind of highlight in your application is why you're looking to do another degree if you already have these degrees. And these programs, the international affairs, are really practitioner focused. They're professional degrees. And so they're looking at people out into the workforce for the most part. Obviously, we all have students who go into academia and research as well, work for think tanks, that kind of thing. But you want to have a clear idea of what it is that you want to do, so your application doesn't look like you're just kind of collecting degrees.
Thank you very much for your answers. If we don't have any other question, I don't see chat or raised hand. Okay, we have no questions. Thank you for participating in this webinar. I learned a lot, and I'm the Education USA advisor. Thank you once again. I will remind you that this presentation is going to be on YouTube channel of Education USA Bosnia and Herzegovina, so you can take a look. And we published everything on our social media, just in case if you want to take once again a look at the presentation. Do you have anything else to share? If not, I'm going to say thank you once again and have a nice day.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Appreciate you having us.